back to another episode of Learn Japanese from Some Guy. In today's video, we're going to look at chapter 12 of my textbook, where we will learn how to conjugate verbs to the I form. So last time, we learned how to conjugate verbs to theません form, which is the polite way of speaking. But today, we're going to learn a more casual, informal way of speaking. So if you're talking with your friends or people you're close with, you'll definitely be using this kind of Japanese. So today's lesson will really help us sound more natural, more native. So, very good lesson, and I think, we can get started. So, 始まりましょうか。よろしくお願いします。Alright everyone, welcome to chapter 12, making verbs negative with nai. Okay, so far in this book, we've only seen sentences in their polite form, but in this chapter, we're going to learn how to use more casual Japanese and make verbs negative using nai. Okay, so a really interesting thing about the Japanese language is that there is a huge difference in the way in which polite Japanese is spoken and non-polite Japanese is spoken. 僕の丁寧な日本語はなんかそんなに上手じゃないんだけど、やっぱり砕けた会話だったらもう全然できるんだけど、なんか丁寧な日本語はちょっとなんか俺にとってもなんか難しいから、今日はちょっとなんか砕けたなんかちょっとインフォーマルな日本語を勉強したいと思うから、I think that's good. So anyway, when we're talking with a stranger or when we're talking with, our boss at work, then of course we're going to want to use polite Japanese. But, most of the time and most of the day, you're going to spend time with people you're close with, maybe family, friends, maybe even a coworker who's at the same level as you are. So in these situations, it's more natural. It's not rude. It's just more natural, more common to use, informal Japanese. It can kind of make you closer with someone. All right, so anyway, conjugating a verb to the I form can seem a little tricky at first, but with practice, it'll get easier, just like anything. So to begin, we're going to need to consider our type 1, 2, and 3 verbs. So this will be a theme that we'll see as we continue our studies: type 1, type 2, and 3 verbs. But anyway, so first we have our type 1 verbs. So if you remember what we learned in chapter 10, we learned that type 1 verbs are verbs that end with a character from the U column of our hiragana chart. So conjugating a verb to its I form requires 3 steps. So first, we want to identify the dictionary form of the verb. So this isn't actually a really difficult step. Many times you'll know the dictionary form, but we want the dictionary form of our verb. And then we're going to take the last character of the verb and change it to its corresponding a character. This is very similar to how when we were conjugating verbs to the mas form, we needed the e equivalent, so yomu became yomi, hanasu became hanashi. So this time, instead of using the e equivalent, we're going to use the a equivalent. Okay, and we'll look at some examples and it'll be clear. And then all we have to do is add nai. Okay, so here we have our hiragana charts for reference, in case you forgot what it looked like. So we're going to do one together. So we're going to look at the word yomu, and we can see that the dictionary form of yomu is yomu. So the last character is mu. So its corresponding a character is ma. So now we have yoma, and we just add nai, and we get yomanai, will not read or doesn't read. So if we go back to our chart, okay, so here we have mu, yomu, and we come over here to the a column, yoma. So we can see that they're connected right here. So yomu becomes yoma. We add nai, and we get yomanai. Okay, and let's try another one. Okay, here we have the verb to buy, kao. So we have the dictionary form of the verb, and the last character is u. So we change it to wa, and we add nai. So we get kawanai. So we can look up here. So we have kau, down here, kau, kawa, kawanai. Just like that. So it's very easy. Won't buy, don't buy. So now we're going to try a few on our own. Okay, so on the left we have the dictionary form of our verb: kaku, hanasu, shinu, hashiru, kao, tatamu. Okay, so pause the video, fill in the blanks. Pause the video, fill in the blanks, and we'll check our answers. All right, so I'm assuming you've written your answers, and now we can check. So number 1, kaku becomes kakanai. So notice the ku character turns into a ka, and we just add nai. Number 2, hanasu, hanasanai. Shinu, shinanai. Hashiru, hashiranai. Kau, kawanai. And finally, tatamu, tatamanai. And that's it. So if you're able to answer those 6 questions without much difficulty, then you've got it. You can conjugate any type 1 verb to the nai form, just like that. But now we're going to look at our type 2 verbs. Okay, so type 2 verbs, fortunately, are much easier to conjugate to the nai form than the type 1 verbs. Okay, so again, we just have 3 steps. So first, we're going to take the dictionary form of the verb, drop the final ru character, and add nai, and that's it. So here we have the verb taberu for to eat. So the dictionary form is taberu, taberu. The mas stem is tabe, and we just add nai, so we get tabe nai. So remember, when we drop the ru character of the type 2 verb, that's the mas stem. So we can just take the mas stem of a type 2 verb and add nai. Taberu becomes tabe nai. Will not eat or don't eat. And here we have the verb for to watch or to see, miru. So again, we have the dictionary form. The mas stem is mi, and we add nai. So miru becomes minai. And that's it. So here we have some more practice problems where you can try to answer them on your own. So we have ageru, dekiru, kotaeru, miseru, mitsukeru, neru, oshieru, shimeru, and yameru. And so now, pause the video, answer 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And pause the video, answers 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so hopefully you've answered those, and now we'll check. Alright, so number 1, ageru becomes agenai. Dekiru becomes dekinai. Kotaeru becomes kotaenai. Miseru becomes misenai. Mitsukeru, mitsukenai. Neru, nenai. Oshieru, oshienai. Shimeru, shimenai. And yameru, yamenai. Okay, so I'm sure you are able to answer those no problem. As long as you can find the mas stem of a type 2 verb, then this should be very easy. Just take the mas stem and add nai. Pretty basic. All right, and now we're going to look at our type 3 verbs. Okay, so as I've mentioned before, that there are just the 2 regular or irregular verbs, suru and kuru. And here are their nai forms. So suru becomes shinai, and kuru becomes konai. Okay, so we just have to be careful. Again, this character changes its pronunciation. So in the dictionary form, it's kuru, but in the nai form, it becomes konai. Okay, so this is just something you'll have to remember. But again, kuru is a verb that is used all the time. So, you'll use it a lot, and remembering its strange conjugations and pronunciation changes won't be a problem. But just know that it's not kunai, it's konai. And that's going to do it for today. Here we have our summary. So what did we learn? We learned that when conjugating verbs, it's important, to recognize whether a verb is a type 1, type 2, or type 3 verb. So knowing if it's type 3 is very easy. If it's not suru and it's not kuru, then it's either type 1 or type 2. And to conjugate a type 1 verb to its nai form, we just change the trailing character to its a equivalents and add nai. Yomu, yoma, yomanai. Kau, kawa, kawanai. Okay. And to conjugate a type 2 verb to its nai form, we drop the ru character and add nai. Or, to put it another way, we add nai to the mas form of the type 2 verb, or mas stem, rather. The nai form of suru is shinai, and the nai form of kuru is konai. And also, just remember that the nai form is just the casual form of the polite masen. So, konai and kimasen, the exact same meaning, but konai is just more casual, more informal. Tabemasen and tabenai, the exact same meaning, but just the level of politeness is different. And the the general rule is, the longer a word is, usually the more polite it is. All right, and now we're going to do a little preview of next week's video. So next time, we're going to look at chapter 13, and we're going to learn about I and na adjectives. Okay, so you may or may not already know, but in Japanese, there are two kinds of adjectives. So this is a little tricky part of the Japanese language, but I think I've done a pretty good job of explaining the differences between the two in this chapter. So hopefully you'll understand when you watch. But knowing the difference between an I adjective and a na adjective is extremely important because the way they're used is extremely different. It's very different. So next time we'll look at that, and so be sure to check it out. And we'll see you then. Alright guys, that about does it for today's chapter. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you'll know when the next video is released. Also, if you wish to support the series, you can find my book on Amazon, the link for which will be in the description box below. As always, I appreciate your guys' comments and reviews, so be sure to let me know what you think. And that's going to do it for today. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time. Mata ne.